If you grew up with pizza boxes on the floor and a controller in your hand, obviously, the world's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games still hit different. Not just a nostalgia, not just as Saturday morning cartoons, but as something quite a bit louder. Dirtier, of course, more dangerous than it was ever allowed to be. Now imagine this. A full-scale, AAA, story-driven Teenage Mutant game, not a side-scrolling throwback, but an arcade revival. Not a safe co-op brawler, but a cinematic, over-the-shoulder, brutal action game inspired by modern-era games such as God of War. And, well, it's been a while, but that's been going around for quite a bit lately, as a rumor. The fact that it doesn't sound crazy anymore, we think that's the exciting part. Because, of course, the Turtles have evolved, and the industry is as well. In fact, for years, the benchmark for modern character-driven combat games had been what Santa Monica Studio did with Kratos. They took a once-over-the-shoulder power fantasy and grounded it. It slowed it down, gave it weight to every swing, made every fight feel personal, intimate, violent in a way that wasn't cartoonish, but raw. Now, just imagine that philosophy applied to Leonardo's blades, to Raphael's saw, to Donatello's staff, cracking against concrete in a dim subway tunnel. Michelangelo fighting with a grin that barely hides exhaustion. Well, the idea of a God of War-inspired Teenage Mutant games is not about copying mechanics, obviously. It's about tone. It's about respect for the characters, of course. For decades, TMNT games have mostly learned arcade-style, fun, chaotic multiplayer first, and that formula still works. Teenage Mutant Shredder's Revenge proved that there's massive love for the classic blueprint. But there's always a ceiling for that format, as lovely as it is. It celebrates the past, it doesn't redefine the future. A AAA cinematic title, however, would. Picture a dark, grounded New York City, not even nostalgia, not exaggerated comic panels, a real living city layered with criminal factions, corporate corruption, underground myth. The Foot Clan reimagined as a disciplined, terrifying paramilitary force instead of just faceless cannon. Shredder itself not as a Saturday morning villain, but as a calculating warlord whose presence is just felt long before he appears. Camera sits close behind the turtle, just like God of War. Every dodge, every party, every encounter feels deliberate, combat's methodical, not mashy. Enemies don't just rush you, they coordinate, they flank, they adapt. Leonardo could be balanced, technical fighter, and built around precision and leadership mechanics. Raphael could be aggressive, incarnate, high risk, high damage, fueled by raid systems that reward pressure. And Donatello, of course, might lean into gadget-based combat and battlefield control. Of course, Michelangelo would blend acrobatics with unpredictable momentum-based combos. But here's where it gets even deeper. In fact, the real opportunity isn't just combat, it's character. One of the biggest trends of modern narrative action games is how they treat relationships. The emotional core of God of War wasn't the Leviathan axe, it was Kratos and Atreus. It was restraint, it was growth. A TMNT game inspired by that approach would sort of at least give us the brotherhood in full weight. Leonardo struggling with the pressure of leadership, Raphael questioning Splinter's teachings, Donatello wrestling with logic in a world of violence, and Michelangelo hiding insecurely behind humor. And Splinter, not a background mentor, not a voice that appears occasionally, but a central present. Maybe a father figure who listens shape gameplay and story. Imagine quiet moments in the sewer between missions, conversations that aren't exposition dumps, but reflections, disagreements that could carry tension, silence, and silence is more than dialogue. Now, and this is where the God of War inspiration actually makes sense. It's not about mythology, it's about maturity. Because, as far as I'm concerned, the Turtles are ready for it. All things considered, a AAA Teenage Mutant game could walk the line perfectly. From a technical standpoint, imagine Unreal Engine 5 powering this version. Hyper-detailed, rain-soaked rooftops, real-time lighting flickering across subway tunnels, sewer water reflecting dim neon from street grids above, destructible environments that make every fight feel explosive. Traversal will be the key. Wall running across buildings, swinging between fire escapes, diving into manholes to disappear from police helicopters, the city itself becomes a playground. but not in an open world checklist way, more curated, more focused, semi-open pubs filled with side stories that deepen the world rather than pad it. And then there's of course the Shredder. In a God of War inspired framework, boss fights aren't just difficulty spikes, there are events, multi-phase encounters that evolve, cinematic transitions that blur gameplay and cutscenes. Shredder wouldn't be beaten in a single encounter. He would haunt the campaign, appear, withdraw, test you, break you. The first real confrontation? It shouldn't feel like a victory, it should feel like survival. And what if you don't control all of your turtles at once? What if the story shifts perspective at key moments? Maybe the narrative structured across chapters, each focus on a different broader, culminating in a unified final act. That design alone could give emotional weight to separation and reunion. And the co-op question will inevitably come up too. TMNT is synonymous with multiplayer, but leaning fully into the God of War inspiration likely means prioritizing single-player immersion. That doesn't mean abandoning co-op entirely, it just means designing it intentionally. Optional, separate modes, or tight scripted duo segments rather than 4-player drop-in mayhem. Because the goal is not noise, it's impact. Another interesting angle would also be morality and choice. Not branching paths that fracture the story, but moments that challenge each turtle's philosophy. The 2018 God of War soundtrack leaned heavy, mythical, primer. A Teenage Mutant game could blend orchestral weight with subtle urban textures, maybe even some subtle nods to classic turtle themes reimagined in some minor keys. It's not about nostalgia, it's about evolution. There is also a business reality here. Comic-based games are thriving when treated seriously. Players respond when studios respect resource material rather than exploit it. A AAA Teenage Mutant project would require a publisher willing to invest big. The IP is iconic, recognizable globally, merchandising power alone makes it viable. But the key word, of course, is respect. You don't build this as a cash grab, you build it as a statement. We're not kids anymore, neither are they. The rumor itself is powerful right now because it signals ambition. And if it's true, if development's actually happening, then the studio behind it's carrying something special. There's risk, of course. Go too gritty and you lose heart. Go too light and you lose weight. So the balance could basically mean everything. Keep the humor, but earn. Not constant. Keep the action, but meaningful. Keep the brotherhood, but of course complicated. And if this rumor becomes reality, it won't just be another licensed game. It'll be a redefinition, a statement that these characters deserve the same narrative care, the same mechanical depth, same cinematic ambition as any mythic anti-hero swinging an axe. And honestly, it's about time the turtles step into the shadows the way they were always meant to. Not as arcade legends, but as warriors.